Hey, what's going on guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, my name is Amma and I'm an electric skateboarder and content creator based right here in the UK. My goal for this channel is to be a resource for e-skaters through reviews, tutorials and ride videos. So if any of that interests you, smash that subscribe button and join me on this journey. Today I'm bringing you my unboxing and first impressions of the Teamgee H20, and this board is courtesy of LumBuy. Now you might be thinking, Amma, who are LumBuy? LumBuy are a multi-brand collaboration company focused on delivering high quality and affordable products globally. As well as their own branded products, they sell electric skateboards from renowned brands like Teamgee, WowGo and MaxFind. Check them out using the link in the description. Anyway guys, I'm itching to get into this box, so let's just dive straight in. I'm guessing this is going to be a box in a box again. Yep. Okay. Electric skateboard, Teamgee for that camera, and Teamgee for that camera. Okay guys, let's just dive straight into it. Okay, packing foam, and there we are, Teamgee. I'm loving these Ferrari-like stripes. You've also got these sort of lips which bring the deck a bit up on all four corners. Let's get the board out the box for a second. Okay, I've got the board to a side for a second. What we're now going to do is we're going to take a look at the accessories which you get. Okay, pretty standard, a T-tool and a couple of Allen keys so you can adjust all these screws on the board. And we've got our remote here. That lanyard is enormous. I do like the feel of this remote immediately. It's got a sort of lip in the remote at the end where your finger sort of sits in very comfortably, and it's quite a big remote. You also have the same thing at the bottom of the remote for your pinky finger, and yeah, you can get a really nice grip on this remote. It does have a screen, 3 buttons. It looks like you've got a reverse switch here and a forward switch, but we'll go through that later on in the video. Charging cable for the remote. The remote is also USB-C, judging from the cable, so perfect. And the charger, so this charger is 1.5 amps. Pretty standard on the charger. And yeah, what else do you get in the box? You do get a user manual. We don't need that. Let's get back to the board. All right guys, so here we have it. This is the Teamgee H20. Let's just go through a very quick whistle-stop tour of this board. I've just put my hands up against these enclosures and they feel really tactile and robust. I'm guessing that there's some metal in them, but we'll go through that in a second. These motors, first of all, are brushless motors, so they should be plenty powerful to get you up inclines considerably fast. Being a hub-driven board, of course, you're going to have your wheel sleeves at the back. The total wheel diameter is 90 millimeters, same at the front of course, and the wheels do feel quite hard, but they also do have a bit of rebound to them, so it'd be interesting to see how they perform on the road once we get riding. Moving along the board a bit, and we have our enclosure for our ESC. This enclosure does look really nice. It's got a very small low profile to it, unlike the battery here. The battery looks enormous, the enclosure at least. Like I said before, it's very robust, very tactile. The battery itself is a 10S 3P pack of 18650 cells. It's rated at 270 watt hours or about 7.5 amp hours. So that should be plenty of range. And for a heavy guy like me, I'll really appreciate that extra bit of range compared to other boards. Flipping over the board and the deck. Now this deck looks very nice, if I'm honest. You have this sort of two-tone finish to it, black and white, black grip tape, quite coarse grip tape. Should do a good job of keeping your feet planted. And then you have these sort of Ferrari-like sports car stripes from the back all the way to the front of the deck. And right at the other end of the deck, you do have an arrow which indicates, I guess, the direction of travel. In case you can't judge from the hub motors at the back, just take a quick glance down and you'll see that this is the front of the board. In terms of the deck itself, it's composed of 8 ply of Canadian maple and 1 ply of fiberglass. So I'm guessing that it will be quite a stiff sort of deck, but it should allow a little bit of flex. And for a rider like myself, I think this will be perfect. I also say that because this board is rated to take riders up to 130 kilograms. I'm about 125 kilograms with a backpack. It's really nice actually to see e-board companies cater for bigger riders like us, because trust me, there's plenty of us out there. Final thing on this deck, it measures at around 40 inches end to end and around 14 inches in terms of the width. You do also have a slight W concave, although it's very subtle, and you've got sort of drop downs on either side, but they're much more subtle than you've seen drop downs in some of my other videos. Like I mentioned right at the start, you also have these lips on all 4 corners of the board, and the board sort of angles out a bit, and I guess this should be really good to just accommodate for a little bit more of your foot, especially if you've got bigger feet like me. So all in, this should be a pretty comfortable ride. The board also weighs in at about 9.5 kilograms, so not too heavy, not too light. And finally, in terms of water resistance, it comes in at IP54, so it should be perfectly fine to ride under wet conditions. But yeah, let's just jump straight into the first ride and stop talking about this board and actually get to enjoying it. Let's get it. So guys, let's get this first ride on the road. Now this isn't technically my first ride because I filmed half of that video and then I dropped my mic like an idiot. Hello darkness, my old friend. But now I've bought a new microphone just so I can finish this video for you guys. So I've got the Teamgee H20 here. I'm in the low speed mode and I'm just going to see what this board has to offer in that low speed mode. So the acceleration is very, very minimal, very gradual. I'm topping out at like 8 to 10 miles per hour by now, and it's probably going to stay there. This mode is probably going to be ideal for if you're just starting out e-skating and this is your beginner board. You'll want to get to grips with the board, get to grips with how it carves, how it turns, and then you can press it up into the second power mode, which is the medium mode. Instant bump in the acceleration, instant improvement on the acceleration, and yeah, still nothing too special, still nothing too serious. I'm going to see if I can make this crossing here. I am going to have to bump up into the high mode already just so I can make this and I don't get run over. Pothole. Oh, that was a big one, but we made it. And yeah, the high acceleration mode is definitely much better. In the high speed mode, you definitely get to experience a lot more of this board's torque and acceleration. And yeah, I'm going to take this right here, make sure this car can see me. Yeah. You can really start carving and enjoying this board for the power that it really gives you. And yeah, very fun, very smooth carving experience, quite agile as well. Make sure this car can see me. Yep. And we're actually going to bump it up now into the 4th speed setting, which is high plus, and I just felt a little burst in the torque here, a little burst in the acceleration, which felt really great. This speed mode is going to take you to the top speed of this board, which goes up to 26 miles per hour. I'm now going on at 23 miles per hour. I'm not going to push it all the way to 26 because I haven't tightened up the bushings out the box, and I'm quite a heavy rider, so just to be safe, I'm going to leave that for the full review. But for now, I've taken the board back down to high mode, and I'm going to leave it in high mode for the duration of this test, just to see what this board feels like on an average ride. I'm going to let this car go, or is he going to let me go? Thank you. And yeah, by the way guys, the remote acceleration and braking is very smooth. So I'm going like 20 miles per hour now. If I want to brake, come to a complete stop, very smooth. Very smooth ESC. I believe it's the Teamgee ESC. Probably not going to be as smooth as your Hobbywing ESCs, but still plenty smooth. It's a very nice, you know, predictable, I'd say the right word is, it's a predictable ride. You can really rely on this moat to have a nice, safe, enjoyable ride. And one thing I do want to show you guys is this board's cruise control feature, and it's a very nice feature. So I've got a nice long stretch ahead of me. If I want to activate the cruise control, I'm just going to accelerate with the throttle and then tap the middle button, and now I can see the letters CRN on the remote, and I can now just leave the remote to itself like that, and I've got 2 hands free, and the board is just going to continue going now. It's not going to go at full speed. I'm going like 12 miles per hour now. And why this feature is really useful, especially if you're a filmmaker or if you're a camera guy and you're always carrying around cameras like this. My left hand was aching from carrying this camera for so long, but I can just switch hands now. I'm literally hands free. I can enjoy the ride for a bit. Of course, you do need to be careful with obstacles around you and coming up to junctions and stuff like that to not be hit by traffic. But yeah, as if e-skate wasn't crazy enough for your average pedestrian and your average member of the public, just seeing you hover around on a board without kick pushing, now it's even crazier because I've got 2 hands free. They'll really be wondering what on earth you're up to and how you're riding these boards. So we're on a pretty rough road right now with potholes, all sorts of big potholes like that one there. And one thing I did want to touch on actually is this board's comfort levels. So this of course is a hub driven electric skateboard. You're using, instead of urethane wheels, full urethane wheels at the back, you're only using polyurethane wheel sleeves. So you are going to compromise a little bit on comfort. But it's all about pluses and minuses, and it's all about trade-offs really. And the trade-off which you get in return is massive. You never have to worry about getting pebbles stuck in your belts, snapping belts, and walking home. So really, for the benefit of convenience, you're sacrificing a little bit in terms of overall ride comfort. Let's see how this board handles over these cobblestone sort of things. Another thing I wanted to touch on, guys, is this board's comfort and the deck. So the deck actually is surprisingly comfortable. It does feel very, very good to carve on. You can feel really locked in and planted. And the reason for that is you have these sort of drop downs at the front and the back of the board. It's very, very subtle. And then you have a W concave also just at the front and the back. And the deck also sort of has these ridges, if you can see there. You have these ridges on the edges of the board. You can't see them because I'm standing on them, but if I sort of shuffle and shimmy along the board a bit, just there, you have these sort of ridges on the front and the back of the board. It extends the length of the deck and where you can place your feet, and it just really allows you to feel locked in. And when you're going high speed especially, or when you're going over bad terrain, feeling locked in is everything that you want and everything that will make the difference when riding over these terrains. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this deck. I really like how it feels. It's nice and wide, it's nice and long. It's not, I wouldn't call it a flexible deck, but it does have a little bit of flex to it. Now I need to somehow navigate around this car on these cobblestones. Yeah, no worries at all. I'm really enjoying this board, guys, to be honest. Guys, this board is very maneuverable, very fun. I've come to the fruit market here. I'm gonna get a... Well, that wasn't planned. I was just saying, I've come to the fruit market, so the floor would be quite slippery, wouldn't it? I need to wash these trousers when I get back. But yeah, like I was saying, very smooth, very maneuverable and nimble board. I'm currently riding over these cobblestones. This is surprisingly, I wouldn't call it comfortable, but it's handling it very well. Now when it comes to braking, this board has 4 braking intensities, 4 braking modes. And thank you, car, for waiting for me. 4 braking modes out the box. My board came in the 4th braking mode, which was very sharp. I didn't really like it, to be completely honest. So what I did was I bumped it down to the 3rd braking mode, and it was much more controllable, much more smooth and predictable. And one compromise which you make with hub-driven electric skateboards in comparison to belt-driven boards is that you lose a little bit of braking distance. Belt-driven boards are of course torquier. They have much quicker and better response times because of those belt-driven motors. So with hub-driven motors, I'm now going like 16 miles per hour now. If I want to come to a complete stop, it's definitely not bad. One other thing I wanted to touch on, guys, is the enclosures. So the enclosures are actually composed of aluminum, so being metal enclosures. If you're going to put something like cloud wheel donuts on this board, which I believe you can, and you're going to be taking this board on light trails and light off-roading, then your enclosures are going to take a much better scuffing. They're going to deal much better in those conditions than a plastic enclosure, which might become damaged much more easily. There's a whole lot of construction going on where I'm riding now, so I'm just going to see here if I can make this very sharp turn. Yeah, no worries. Very agile, very nimble board. Like I said, guys, this board is a really nice little city commuter. It really feels nimble, agile. You can make nice sharp turns, nice sharp cornering, and surprisingly grippy as well. I mean, the wheels are 90 millimeters and they really hold on until the last second. I was really surprised by the wheels, especially being my first experience with a hub board that uses wheel sleeves at the back. I was a bit apprehensive about how grippy they would be, but yeah, I mean, to my surprise, they're very nice, very grippy, and you can handle all sorts of terrain with them. Oh, collision. Almost. Yeah, this board, guys, is a really, really nice city commuter. It's very, very nimble, very agile. Little brake test there with that pedestrian who just came out of nowhere, but no problem at all. You know, the board is almost perfect for situations like this. If you're going to be in a city, you know, a lot of us by now in this day and age do have better boards with bigger range, you know, more battery, 80 tires, all of that fun stuff. But do you really want to be taking boards like that into inner city environments? If you're going to be commuting to work, if you're going to be commuting to university or college or whatever, you don't really want to be taking a nice big bulky board. Those boards are more for days out where you want to focus your entire time on riding and on enjoying the board. But a board like this is very light, very smooth, maneuverable, and it has just the amount of range that you need, just the amount of power for you to enjoy a really nice, fun, pleasurable ride and e-skate essentially, instead of taking the bus or instead of getting a taxi. Guys, I'm now coming up to the end of this board's battery, and it's still very, very fun to ride, very zippy, very carvy and maneuverable. And yeah, I mean, if you're on your way home from a group ride and you still want to enjoy the last portion of your battery, then I'll assure you that you still can. I know I'm at the end of the battery because my remote keeps vibrating to let me know that I'm about to run out of power and I should get to a charge spot, which is good because if you're not paying attention, you might miss that. And also I'm on the last bar of my board's power meter and it's actually flashing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this board until it almost turns off, until the ride is no longer enjoyable at all.
I hate this channel.
No! No!
The other thing about this board is that it has a reverse feature, so in case you wanted to do a 3-point turn, just come to a complete stop. On the remote you actually have a switch, and if you dial that switch down and start accelerating now on the board, you're actually going to be reversing, but we don't want to do that for now. Let's carry on with this video. So guys, that's the end of my unboxing, first impressions and range test of the Teamgee H20. I don't actually know the range myself yet, but I will pop it on the screen for you. Do bear in mind that I am considerably heavier than the vast majority of e-skaters, so I'm not expecting to hit the advertised range. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the full review of this board. Peace.